find what are the opportunities that sit inside of market, and how do you meet or exceed these customer needs, wants and desires, but in a way that commercially makes sense. Because at the end of the day, the reality of us here in New Zealand is we live in a country that is smaller than the size of Sydney. And we have to remember that. So to get the commercial outcomes we have to be nimble, and we have to think outside the box, but it's still pretty bloody complex. So what I'm going to talk today is about growth and innovation in a blended commerce environment with I'm trying to spin it back to digital where and when possible. So I originally, as I said, corporate retail for a number of years. If you have a one card, anyone uses a one card. I created that about 20-something years ago. I was also on the team that launched online retail in New Zealand for what was Woolworths, that is now Countdown. And we used to send out little CDs to people to download what the product list was that they could purchase from. So I've been around for a little while when digital was very, very different to digital that it is today, although I look very young, don't I? Haven't started Botox yet, but my 15-year-old daughter's telling me I have to because it's a slippery slope, apparently, where I am at the moment. So I was in corporate retail. I was GM of marketing and property within the Warehouse Group. So there's a lot, Noel Leeming Group, closed down Bond and Bond, opened things and closed more things than I can remember. But I distinctly remember this one day you go into a sales meeting, the CEO, you're the GM, and they're going, "What's sales going to be next year?" It's like, freaking knowing you make this shit up, Yes, you do. How do you? Can I ask? Well, how do you fucking know? No idea, because the reality is you don't know what's happening at a competitive level, a commercial level, and they want you to get out some bingo balls and they want you to go 5% year on year over what it was. Can you imagine? And I was actually just with the Countdown team over the last 3 days, and foodstuffs were there. They fed the nation over COVID. Can you imagine the despair they have at the moment? You've got the Commerce Commission happening here. You've got, so are you going to do an increase year on year? It's like, oh my God, all the butchers and bakers and candlestick makers are now reopened. So I thought if I have to sit in one of these meetings ever again, I'm going to poke my eye out with a stick. And so it was probably the start of a midlife crisis. But then what I thought is I have a love for customer experience and a real passion for retail. And so that's where I set up a business which is called, first there was Hot Food, which I set up for someone else, and then Retail X, which is now formed RX. And RX Group is, we're a business consultancy that works in the space of innovation and business growth. And really it's around that go-to-market strategy for businesses, both in retail and services, around how you become more compelling and captivating, and more importantly, more profitable. So these are some of the businesses I work with on a day-to-day basis. And unfortunately also the poor gentleman up the back, I don't even know why I'm here, but somehow someone in my team said, yep, come along and speak to these people and talk about digital. And so that's what we're going to do somewhere amongst this blended commerce. Now, when you've been around retail, and the reason we'll talk about retail is because retail's a really tough and aggressive and in-your-face environment. And it's always very good no matter what industry you're in, because you participate in retail. You're a shopper. And if there's ever a industry where you've got to cut the cloth accordingly, retail is one of them. But it also feels the temperatures of customers' needs, wants and desires very, very viscerally. And one of the things that I have noticed in particular, and we will all have experienced, is we've seen this monumental changes occurring. And even in retail, we'd already been seeing quite a lot of significant change happening in the past few years. And then you get to where we are the last 3 years. And we've had decades of change happen in those last 3 years. And if you think about, well, what are the types of things is that actually digital got to the top of the agenda? And for a long time, and I've worked with CEOs, the expression stale, male and pale, there's a lot of them around in retail. And they've got a bag of tricks and they run it in and they pull it out and they go, this will work. And you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then the other thing too is they'll always talk about what should be on the shelf in the supermarket or in the store based on what their wife does. And it's like, you earn $1 million a year and what your wife works is not representative of the rest of the world. But you don't say that. You go, yeah, of course. Yep, we'll do that. So with this change in what has happened over the last 3 years, it really comes back to those fundamental behaviours of us as human beings. We got locked away in the pandemic, and as a result, everything changed. It changed how we live, how we work, how we consume products, what the values are. You know, how, I don't know of you that have kids, but actually just, you know, all of a sudden, you do things like sit down to the news. I hadn't watched the news for years. I hadn't watched anything that wasn't on demand for years. I'd go for a walk with the kids. I've got 2 teenagers, and they just spurt stuff at you constantly. And it was great to have that time where it's not, you know, this 9 to 5. So we've seen these fundamental behaviours change. But alongside with that, you know, I've got no idea what's coming next. So alongside with that, this acceleration of macro trends means that digital has got to the top of the agenda. And that's possibly the most important thing for the people in this room, is that it's all got the lens of the C-suite looking at it, and also the demands of, we expect something to happen as a result of this that's different to the past. Whereas I think some of you may have even experienced that we're not going to even give you any budget. What's this digital shit? Can you make a cat video go viral? Type of thing for our business. And I get that all the, can we just do something like a video? And I'm like, sure, you nutter. You know, understanding what is true engagement, what actually connects with customers' hearts, minds, and wallets. And so they're the type of things that we're having to deal with, is that we've got this lens on us from the C-suite and maybe even the board. The cost of being engaged in digital has got 2 things that are happening. The cost of technology is coming down, especially when we look at blended commerce, but the expectation of customers are going up. And then the demands in the ecosystem, especially if you're involved in buying media or acquisition, the cost has gone up as well. So there's a real mucky old mess that's happening within that. But one of the key things within that, as well as going, well, we've got all these demands, is that customer expectations have changed, and it's typically not led by what industry you're in. And think of your own behaviour. And I'll tell you my behaviour here, which is why I was a little bit grumpy. My plane's been delayed. I got a text from my son's school. I'm having a lot of trouble getting my son back to school after COVID. He's not there today. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. He promised me he would go 5 days a week this week. Actually, it's not even 5, 3 days a week, because they've got teacher-only days. Promised me he'd go today. And then I'm texting my husband going, why is he not at school? And my mother-in-law chips in. I dropped him off at 8:30. And then I'm going, oh, my kid's going, back off, Mum, I'm here. See, I'm in the classroom. So you've got that coming at you as all of these different types of demands. And I go to press for an Uber. It's 15 minutes away. How do you think, you know, our expectations now is this immediacy of what happens with our interactions, and then all this other digital stuff happening around us, as well as you go, just sit, breathe, and turn up to a conference. You've got no idea what you're going to talk about because you can't see your notes from when you added in the extra stuff. But the other challenge that we have amongst this noise that people have is that we've got these 5 generations. Shoppers have got different engagement levels with the world around them. And what we can see now, we haven't even got the alphas on here yet. And the alphas, and I'm going to get this video, I just saw at a conference I was at, and it was a guy called Mark McCrindle. He's an incredible demographer and researcher out of Australia. And he's got this video of this baby, and there's a magazine, and the baby's trying to swipe the magazine. You know, that's what kids are doing now. Whereas I've got Gen Zers, and they are digital natives, but they still know a bit of an analog world. And then you've got people like I'm a Gen X and the millennials, and we use the tools, these digital tools, to apply them in our life. And then you've got the boomers and your silence. And trust me, the best way to piss off a Gen Xer is tell them they're a boomer. That's what my kids do all the time. Oh, yeah, boomer. I'm not, but yeah, they know the button. Is then you've got these boomers and silence that who are also applying the tools, but potentially in the way that doesn't optimize them. So you've got to deal with all of that. And for you in the room, you may have prospects or customers that sits across that strata or are coming into it, and that becomes an incredible challenge. This is specifically for retail, but what that means and the way that it surfaces for a customer is that now their expectations are different. They may, before they cross a lease line, they may check what the stock availability is in store. The other thing is that they will, as we all know, we browse and do all of our research online. Sometimes we want to hop into the store to see the tactility of it. Is it right? Is it going to fit? And then we might go away and think about it and order it online as well to get delivered to us. We used to see a lot in the supermarkets of people who would go in and do a bit of research in the supermarket, but they get all the booze delivered to home, so you don't look like an alcoholic when you're actually doing the grocery shopping. But there's a whole lot of other needs. It's too heavy. Anything I want from Mitre 10, I want delivered. I don't want to put it won't fit in my car. There's a whole lot of different behaviours. And I don't know if any of you have travelled abroad recently. I've just been in, I'm going to slow down my speaking because I've got 46 minutes left. I've been in Europe for the last 3 weeks doing a retail study tour. This was about 5 weeks ago, and everywhere now, and it was as a result of the pandemic, has got the QR code on the table. You do it, up comes your menu, and you can order. And we have to move towards increasingly those modes of operations because it's really hard to recruit staff at the moment. And we also have people that have got this low touch need that I don't want to get somebody else's germs. And so there's all these different modes that are happening. And the other thing that has meant is, especially if any of you are in retailers, then that expectation, you need to deliver in all these places. I need to be online, I need to be offline, I need to be click and collect. And that means we have demands on our people internally. No one gave us more people. And so then again, digital tools and technology are coming in to help us deliver on that. But and there becomes also another challenge is that any business has only got so much budget or so much capex. So what are the implications of that? Now you will hear out in the world that everyone talks about these omni-channel experiences, and omni-channel is just utter bullshit because a channel is an internal business term, okay? Customer expectations are consistency. And so whoever we are, in whatever our businesses are, whoever we deal with as a customer, they're looking for a total experience. They're not looking for the best online or offline channel experience. They're just dealing with you. And they're expecting that experience whenever, wherever, or however they interact with you. And with that, there's a whole lot of stuff outside of what you do that raises the bar on expectation. And so whatever was yesterday's excellence is really going to be tomorrow's expectation. Think of your own behaviour, whether it's Uber Eats, Netflix, that sets the bar of what you expect. Who is not pissed off with have we got any banks in here? Good. Who is not pissed off with every bank in New Zealand at the moment? So my local bank is only open 3 days a week. I live at St Heliers, 3 days a week between 10 and 2. Yes? A bank. Do it. Bank. Sorry, so I am a Kiwi. We're a bank. So what has happened is I went to Europe and then I came back and I did work in Australia for a week. And when I go back to Australia, my accent gets quite thick again. I've lived in New Zealand now for 20-something years, and I commuted for most of the time. A bank, the Westpac, the local Westpac, let's call it for what it is open 3 days a week, 10 till 2, right? And then you go, okay, well, we needed to get a debit card for my daughter for when I went overseas. She came with me, work trip, take that opportunity, rip her out of school, come and learn what mum does. I need a debit card. You have to go into the Westpac with your documentation to prove who you are, although they have photocopied it so many times. Are you really a mother? No, I kidnapped a 15-year-old because that's what we all want to do. she's like a leech, this child, with money. And it's like, of course I'm faking. We're really into money laundering in our family. Have you looked at our accounts? It's not happening. Anyway, so you go into the Westpac and you've got your documentation. You can only go in these hours. Your kid's at school. How do you get there between 10 and 2? And so you're seeing all these things coming together. They're trying to be more profitable. They want you to go online. You can't do half of the shit you want to do online anyway. So that becomes the challenge for us, is that whatever we see what good looks like becomes our expectation. And that is relevant for all of us in the room. And, my other big bugbear is bloody car hire. You give them all the details, you give them the cord blood of your first child, and then you turn up and you've got to fill it all out again. And you go, why? I've sent you my driver's license, So that's where this frustration comes through, whoever you are, is that they're judging you off categories and industries that may not be your own. So that's really important. It's then to start to understand, whatever you're in, digital, online, offline, is what are those core attributes of choice that makes me choose you? And they're the elements that we need to connect with. So what I'm going to do, and these are very retail orientated references, but I think they're still relevant whatever category that you're in. And it's around, what are those expectations of the customers now when they go out and discover the world. And so the first one, I've put them into 5 buckets of the things that are influencing customers significantly. We're having a lens from retail and customer experience. And the first one is showing up. And showing up is about communicating with your customer whenever, wherever, and however. And the way that we do that in a very engaging and seamless ways requires digital tools, our ability to recognize where you are, and contextual relevance with that, and then connecting with an emotional lead. So let's look at someone who shows up in a major way.
The Traffic Jam Whopper. We used real-time data to detect our potential buyers in a traffic jam to offer them a Whopper and deliver on the move.
Fernanda, buenos días. Señor Eduardo, buenas tardes.
¡Ay, qué bello!
Llegaste en chinga, cabrón. Me cagaba de hambre.
Our media was 100% dynamic, promoting our service only in high congestion zones. By leveraging traffic and drivers' real-time data, we adjusted our billboards' location and content. The messages displayed information about the remaining time in traffic to order and personalized updates about deliveries in progress. Also, Waze banner ads and push notifications invited drivers to get a Whopper as soon as they entered our delivery zones. People were able to use voice commands to place the order and avoid tickets. Finally, using the latest Google Maps APIs, our app pinpointed vehicle location and speed in order to deliver for the first time ever to a driver on the move. The delivery zones changed following the traffic block, making our service available when a gridlock was identified, always within a 3-kilometer radius from the restaurants.
Hola Mariana, ¿cómo estás?
¡Ay, te agarraría besos!
Lo siento, estoy en servicio.
In just 1 week, we increased delivery orders by 63%, and our daily app download rate increased 44 times, becoming the #1 fast food app, surpassing McDonald's, Domino's, and Starbucks in Mexico. Coming soon, Los Angeles, San Paulo, and Shanghai. The Traffic Jam Whopper.
Enjoy the traffic jam.
Now, never, ever, ever has any customer said, I want my food in my car in a traffic jam. But what BK did, and I know that I've worked in QSR for a number of years, is that they identified that when you're in this category, the things that are important to customer is getting my order in full, get the integrity of the product, so it's keeping it hot, and the taste consistent. And then when you get to that next layer of competitiveness, you put in LTOs, limited time offers, for a period of time, and it becomes very competitive. You know, there's the stuff I love, but then it becomes about value as well. So this was a really innovative way to meet and exceed customers' expectations. And I think one of the points, they've showed up where the customer least expected it, and they used really good technology and digital tools to do this. But one thing that, and I've been traveling around talking to businesses in Australia and also in the UK, is just for you to think about, especially in the jobs that you do, is what is the data that you're demanding from a customer? And then what are you doing with that? And is it adding any value in your ability to show up? And I'm actually encouraging a lot of our clients to get less data because, and look, you're shocked. Jesus Christ, she says. You've told them to take less data. Unless you're going to bloody do something with it, don't take it. And a lot of my clients have got so much data that you get in a pickle and you don't know what to do with it. And I think that's really important to strategically understand from a digital perspective, what the hell am I going to do with it? Oh, you all want to know their names and their birthdays and, because we're going to send them something, which you never bloody do. And if you do, it's shit anyway. If you want to sign up, I do a review every year of everything I get on my birthday, and it's just appalling, really, people. But it's understanding what are you going to do with that data, because as a customer, increasingly, if I'm going to give you this, I have an expectation that you're going to use it accordingly and you're going to improve your relationship with me as a result of that. And if you're not going to, don't ask for it and wait until you do, and then engage with me with relevance and show up. Someone who does this particularly well is Mecca. And I actually just got something in my email box and I thought that was quite timely. And is anyone a Mecca customer here? Oh, look at that. Mecca is bloody awesome. They take the right amount of data. I'm a level 3 Loop customer. I get the super duper box of all. So what happens is the more you spend, the better the rewards are. And I dropped to level 2 for a little while. I was very disappointed and I went back to level 3. But then I've just got something that dropped into my email box that said, oh, surprise, exclusive bonus. If you come and spend $25, you can get this big full thing, which is some butt butter or something. I don't know what we do with it, but tell you I'm going there because don't we love free? Moisturizer, yep. Oh, I'm going to get it. And I'm going to go and spend $25 to do that. So they've started to build a relationship with me, but they're using my data in a way that actually makes sense. And just think about it, increasingly as well, the more data you've got, the more susceptible you are to having breaches. So, what are those privacy? What is the protection? So I'm a big advocate of only getting data when you need it. And when you get it, bloody do something with it. Don't waste it, because then as a customer, my expectation is different. So it's around showing up with that. Another business, and look, this is the one that I've got to do off the top of my head because I just added it in. Actually, the slide that's usually here is about, we'll talk about that next. So this is Sephora. So if you look at who are the best innovators in the world from a digital perspective and a data perspective, is actually Sephora. And this is Sephora. And I think from my memory is this starts maybe on August. No, that's the other one. Maybe in September this starts. And what Sephora was about 3 or 4 years ago, it started as a physical event, and customers from Sephora come along, go into your store, go on a path of discovery. They also did big festivals. And then COVID happened and they took it digitally. And so you come along and you discover and you uncover new products, and there's a little bit of gamification. And so what they've done coming out of COVID is gone, well, how do we really up the ante on this? And if my recollection is correct, is in this moment that we have Sephora, which is going to be over a week, is that you can go into this experience, and these are different stores. I think there's 7 in total that you go through, and you're going to discover 35 products. You're going to have time to engage one-to-one with Sephora experts, and you're going to hear from the founders of these products as well. But outside of that, what you can do is pay $50, and then a box of shit is going to turn up at at your door as well related to that. And that's showing up, isn't it? That's really going, well, I'm engaging with people who may not have a Sephora in their area. They've got a passion about this product. They don't have to go into a store, but I can still deliver an experience to them both online and offline. And that's blended, a really blended showing up. Yeah, I'll show it in here. So frictionless expectations is the other thing that is sort of manifested as a really big expectation of our customers, especially in a digital world, in a blended environment. And this here is, I haven't been to the store. I'm very fortunate in a non-COVID world to do retail study tours around the world. I do them for retailers here in Australia and overseas. And this, I have been to the origins of this, which you may have all heard, which is Amazon Go Store. And that's where you've got the app. You go into the store. I went into the first one in Seattle. I went there with the Amazon team. So I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you about this because this is a really good, I suppose, memorable moment which can pull things apart. So I went in with the Amazon team. I didn't need the app. We went in, we looked at the computer tech, the vision technology, and when you go in there, there's cracks along the floor as well, which is how the computer vision works. And you take stuff off the shelf and you put it in your bag and you put it back and it all sort of works. And then this chick, she's actually originally from Wanganui and she works in the Amazon team. She said to me, put a bottle of wine in your bag. Okay, cool. Okay, we'll do that. And went through. And she said, they're going to contact you. When you get your receipt, contact them and say, I didn't have any wine, and see what happens. Well, okay, got it. No, I didn't get any wine. I put it back. Oh, that's okay. And I got the free bottle of wine. And because from Amazon's expectation, they just wanted you to have a seamless experience. So they didn't give a shit about the shrink. They wanted you to have the best seamless experience possible. I think it also helped that it was a beta test. I wouldn't try it now if you're ever at a store, but that's what happened. But the thing is, and with these, you've got the app going in store. I just went a couple of weeks ago in London, and because I'm from New Zealand, I couldn't connect to the app easily. So I had to sit there for 20 minutes. They wouldn't even let me in the store because it's all about, once I get on, it's walk in, walk out technology. So I'm not going to let you walk in if you don't have the app. So it wasn't exactly frictionless, but anyway, we digress. But anyway, in this situation, this is the first time that they've put the two of these. This one's in New York, and they've put an Amazon Go store with a Starbucks. Now, Starbucks also had, and again, I needed my notes, trying to remember the name. It's in Beijing. And what it is, it's just this standalone Starbucks that you do your order and you come and you just grab it and go. And in the corner, they have these little lockers, which is where the guys come and get the DoorDash and the Uber Eats. But you don't sit in there like a normal Starbucks. And the reason, there's some really good reasons behind that, because again, we're just a convenience orientated society. And when you do want to sit and have a coffee, they have other Starbucks nearby that do that. And the baristas, you might have heard of the roastery experiences, and that the baristas are much more well skilled, and it's an environment that needs a lot of labor. And so in these other situations, they've got less labor, it's very operationally focused, and they divert all the DoorDash and Uber Eats orders to that store, so that it means that when you're wanting a full-on experience, you've got it, and when you're wanting a convenient experience, you want it. And this is about the convenient experience. But the reason I show this is because Amazon's gone a step further, and this is called Amazon One, and it's the use of biometric technology. And the way that it works is you get your hand and you get in and out of the store like that, and you pay like that. You just do that. It's like, oh, so you're like Wonder Woman. And it's an incredible innovation, and I haven't used it, but I've got a team member that sits in the US, and she went and had a play with it. I get to do it till next year, and she did it super simple. You just go up, there's a sign-up desk, it scans your hand a couple of times, sort of like when you're trying to pair the face back and forth. Scan it a few times, and then you go in, and it's just seamless, this experience. So again, your ability to provide frictionless experiences, and this is in a offline environment in a way that adds to the customer's experience. Now, if you think about that, I hope there's not a world where people go around chopping people's arms off to pay for stuff. But imagine that you're off to, I'm going to the Harry Styles concert. If you could just get in and out like that, it'd be amazing. But anyway, future payments. Okay, let's just watch this and we'll talk about it afterwards. Now, I nearly sometimes not show that because that is the flagship store in Moscow. And I'm going to talk about a glass half empty and a glass half full on that example. And the glass half empty is, oh my God, you got rid of all the people. There's no staff, God, I sounded really Aussie then, twangy, because they're always half empty, aren't they? But the glass half full is when you think about the things that people expect out of QSR is hot food, accuracy of order, in a low-touch environment, not a lot of handling of it, and that consistency. You've got your 9 times out of 10, you're going to order the same thing over and over again. So in this, again, it's the utilization of biotechnology, biometric technology, facial recognition. This is your last order, yada, yada, yada. And you go, well, that's all well and good, but the reason that these guys have done it is around a couple of challenges. When you have a situation that requires high volume, automate what can be automated and then throw your best talent at the stuff that matters. And that's around putting your people connecting with other people. You don't need lots of little people at the back to cook chicken. A robot can do that. You need people to greet people and make them feel welcome and deal with any of the challenges that occurs with it. I'm going to come back to that and how you can do that in a very digital, technological facing way as well for those of you who might be in e-commerce or look after chatbots, etc. The other thing too that I saw a lot in Europe is the renaissance of the QR code. And this is, do you remember the first time the QR code came out? It was a croc, we'd scan it. It just took us to exactly where we were in a point of time. What we're seeing now increasingly is it's moving us along on our journey as a customer. And whether it's digital, whether it's physical, the ability to take customers further in a frictionless way is the power of the QR code. Now, if any of you, I come from a world where I sit across everything regardless of its customer experience. So if any of you are thinking about, well, where I do this, there's some real cock-ups that are happening at the moment, especially on packaging. Well, what people have done is they put the QR codes close to the barcode. And what that does is screwing up efficiency of labor inside retail environments, because with barcodes, and then especially if you're doing a stock take or something else, and then all of a sudden it's a QR code and you're off somewhere else. So it's a pain in the ass. Anyway, that's just a byproduct. Bit of information you can have at the next barbecue. Oh, wow. Now we're getting a little bit deeper into, what are these trends? What are we seeing? What are those expectations of customers? And this is all around personalization. And again, if we think about a blended commerce world, one of the best in the world, as I said, around customer experience and the utilization of digital and technology is Sephora. Now, this is an example of a special mirror that was put into the Sephora store in Madrid. And what happens is upon approach, I would turn up and it used contextually relevant data as well as my own data to have a look at me, understand the weather, seen the types of products I've bought in the past, and it might recommend a lipstick that will go with what I'm wearing, or it might also say you need to think about a bit of more hydration. You're going to be a rough week, or they'll probably see that from the weather rather than what might be my face as well. And it also sees your age, so it's not going to be a mutton dressed as lamb sort of serving of information. And that is the type of next level personalization. This is why I am really, really focused on just take the data you need at the moment, because this is the shit people are going to expect from when you've got everything, and then what it does, it goes, thank you so much, Juanita, and then it sends all the information into my inbox and it sits on my account. And then the next time that I'm shopping on Sephora, it will serve me. Remember the last time we talked about these products, and did you want to buy now? So those opportunities, especially even if you're in a service organization, if I'm taking in that information, what are we doing with it digitally to surface in a way that provides this level of expectation and personalization we are coming to expect as a customer? Nike is also, both Nike and Adidas, they're both incredible with this. And with Nike, they've got different tiers. We're going to get a Nike live store here in Queen Street, probably about the middle of next year. Nike's got these different tiers, and this is a house of innovation. And I've just recently been to both London and Paris. I remember when the New York one first opened, and it's next level. You go in there and it's just a huge wow. But we all know that that's a temple to Nike. But what can we learn from this? And some of the things that we learn from this is with the amount of data that we're collecting, or the digital interfaces that we have with our customers, is that we can start to serve them contextually relevant product. We can talk to them, why we can't talk to them the minute they cross the lease line through the computer in their pocket, and that's increasing our expectation. There's also the personalization that when the sales associate approaches me, that we can have a relevant conversation about me. Oh, hi, how are you? See, you bought this last time. What are you looking for? Oh, have you thought about this? So this is where, Nike's been able to empower that degree of personalization and recognize you as a customer wherever you are, and using that data accordingly. But then also aggregating that data. And then on most of the House of Innovations, there's a level where it's around, and you can go, and it's 1 to 10, and they're the stories around the product that's being bought where you are. So there's a lot of runners in New York, and this is the fit that they're wearing at the moment. And you go, oh, so it's part of my community. You go and buy it. So just a way to, engender other relationships. But there's beyond that type of personalization, there's the offline, and it's the making it my own. So this here is actually a customization bar. And there's a number of customization bars. There can be manual ones, or they can be ones where you send and design it electronically, and it'll go onto your shirt or onto your shoe. And you have something that you have an affinity with that brand, but it is your own. So that expectation, so that's a true level of personalization, still sort of connected to a brand that we love. I love this example. And if any of you have been to the US, only ever, if you want chicken burger, or they call it chicken sandwich, only get Chick-fil-A. They're the best, the best. And what Chick-fil-A does to add a level of personalization is that, the things we hate when we're in a drive-through is a line, because you're just anxious. Need my food, hungry, kids are yelling in the back, or, oh my God, what am I going to order? I've got to hurry up, there's a line behind me, or there's a whole lot of emotions that come through. What Chick-fil-A does is a person comes out and they go, oh, hi, how are you? Can I take your order? And they do that and just take this sense of relief. So knowing that even though we've got all this technology capability in the world, that throwing a human connection as a way that we can actually deliver a degree of personalisation. And if anyone has been waiting for Air New Zealand, like I had 7 hours the other day, you just want to talk to a person, don't you? And the other thing too is you just know the minute they pick it up, is it going to hang up this time, as it sometimes does with technology? The other thing that these guys recognise is, what are those pain points or points of friction for a customer? And one of those things are, and any of you that have ever had toddlers, is that when they're hungry, they've got to eat now. And so what you can do is you drive through and you go, hi, we're going to eat in. Can we get to what their equivalent of Happy Meals is? And I'll have a chicken, blah, blah, blah. And they'll go, and great, we'll set the table up for you. So then you go and park and you bring your kids and you sit down, the food's ready. So there's none of that waiting. So recognizing again, and that's a very lo-fi way of solving the problem. Is anyone interested in social commerce? Because I can flick through this pretty quickly. Is that a yes? Yep. So social commerce is an area, there's all this stuff we know. We all know Instagram and TikTok and all of this, but the real rise of things such as live streaming and your ability to complete a commercial transaction with someone in the environment without having to step out. And a lot of the challenges that we're facing is really just due to payments predominantly, and the fact that it doesn't do it seamlessly, which is why the Asians are the best at live streaming, because they've got WeChat and WePay and everything just swooshes through, and they are the masters of it. And we're learning a lot from them. But Walmart is one of probably the first big people making a play into the live streaming in a very authentic and genuine way. And they'd recently trialed with live shopping on Twitter, although we've seen the likes of Facebook pull back that capability and saying, well, I wouldn't even bother with Instagram either. But what have I got here? What we have started to see the emergence of is this is TalkShop Live, and that's Walmart now delivering on this platform where actually customers, it's sort of like the TV shopping channel, but you're sitting there and you're listening maybe to the authentic creators or the person who wrote the book or whatever, and you can make that purchase or that transaction. And it's not just products, it's insurance, it's a whole lot of things. So this is a real area of potential growth for businesses in this part of the world, because you're making that human connection as well in a digital environment that people can seamlessly come in and out of. Beyond that, so IKEA is actually going to do their first live streaming event what's today? Tomorrow, is it? They started. I've just picked this up. Again, this is what I needed my notes for. But we will be able to watch Australia from here. We can't purchase, but we can have a look. You can look at content that's delivered from all over the world. So it's about inspiration and seeing how these items might fit into your life or your world, and then your ability to seamlessly shop off the live stream. I can't tell you if it's going to be good, but I'm looking to watch that with interest. But just starting to see people do this in a very credible way. And that's just another picture of it. The other thing, I've got to build on this, is also looking back into the content that our customers are creating. And BookTok is a really wonderful example of seeing, the rise of, and I think it started really in young adult fiction as well, of, what's on BookTok, and then it coming into a retail environment. And I think you'd be dumb if you had a bookstore and you didn't have a BookTok stand. And if you go in Australia, the likes of Big W and actually even Kmart over there and Target have these massive BookTok stands that are constantly having to be replenished and building a renaissance. And I think that's the other thing, is what can we look inward to what our customers are creating, and how can we work off that to deliver a heightened relationship with them in different environments, to just start to stretch that engagement with them. This is another example, and this is actually because Costco's opening here soon, is that customers started to create Costco Couture, and they've really actually built this amazing following for Costco. People didn't know that you could get clothes, hunters were in there for ridiculous price. And there was this chick I was watching the other night, she's like, oh my God, and she's wearing this Ralph Lauren, guess how much? And it was $12, it was just utterly ridiculous. Oh, look at the inside. And they do just such a magnificent job for you. But then again, your ability to then drive that back into your other channels, as we call them, to create the seamless experience. Because once you've got those raving advocates, their ability to influence others, rather than you just having to drive acquisition into the top of the funnel. There are some gaps and concerns. I'm just going to do this briefly because you're not retailers, but it's still relevant, is it's around trust. A lot of customers, they go, oh, I don't know if I trust you enough to have my data to get involved in the social commerce. So they're some of the things we have to get the right triggers around to give them that confidence. The second one is available to purchase is a really important, available to promise is really important, so that when we're in a social channel and we serve up an opportunity, that we can actually deliver on the promise. And in a retail world, that requires connected commerce. And for you, depending on what and look, and I think about, you see an offer and then you ring, but you've got no idea what you're talking about. I think one of mine was pet insurance, and I rang, I just saw this, and it's like, I don't know. The other things are really, really sort of quite obvious when you think about it, but we've trained our customers around certain experience on our own e-commerce and digital relationships we have with them. So they're used to shopping that way. And so starting to shop or interact with you in a different environment is going to require some re-education. Specifically for retailers, product returns. So I bought it from someone and it may not have been the brand owner. So where do I return it? So there's, again, a bit of trust in that. And the other is product authenticity. Is when I'm seeing it in a social commerce environment, is it the real deal? Now, this I'm going to talk about. What sort of industries do we have in here? I know we're talking about digital. What have we got? Come on, Yellow, what industry you're in? Sorry? Ad agency? Finance? Technology? Sorry? Technology, cool. Okay, I'm waiting for someone to give me, I don't know, stripper. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Digital optimization tools, what would it be? OnlyFans. Are they moving that on a little bit? Hinge, let's take Hinge down. This here was a tool that was called Hero, and it's been acquired by Klarna. And what it is a tool, and I'm going to talk in a retail sense, and then you can relate it to your own environment or opportunity, is that what happens is, you've got a chat bot. It's different. I want to talk to someone at this business, and it takes you through to a physical person. And in a retail sense, you'll have assigned that who is the next available sales associate. Or you might have said, these guys over here, the best sales associate, anything's going to go through to them if it's on. So it'll divert to whoever. It could be anywhere in New Zealand. And what happens is you talk to a real person. And it's used, Mecca actually uses it in Australia. I saw it used in Ulta in the US, David Jones. I've seen it apply in a lot of retail environments where someone just wants to talk to. Tell me about the fit. I actually saw it in Paris. I didn't understand a word that they were saying, but I knew the lady was trying on the shoe for her, and she's like, but it's an amazing way because our we spend so much time in an online world that we crave. It's part of our DNA is craving authentic, genuine connection. So I talked to the boys at Klarna yesterday, actually. I call them boys. They're all about 12. They're lovely, really young. They know all about the technology, and Klarna's not necessarily about payments, it's about the technology. And they said, you don't have to have Klarna as a payment type to utilize this type of technology. I think it's going to be a real game changer in a number of industries. But, FaceTime, press this. It's just the technology at the back end that enables you to deliver that in a seamless and frictionless way. I've got 9 minutes left. I'm going to finish, I reckon, in 5, and then we can just talk stuff, or you can go to the toilet. But purpose over profit is a really critical factor in any organisation. We might call it sustainability or QSR or whatever, but it's purpose over profit is what the customer is how it's manifesting with them. And one of the best in the world for a long time has been REI. And for you that don't know, REI is a big outdoor sports company, like Rebel Sport on steroids with Torpedo 7, and it's a million times better. There's a flagship in Seattle, and you can actually do this, not a little rock wall, it's a massive rock wall. I think it's about 5 stories high, and you can go and get the bikes, and you go into their all-terrain mountain bike track, and you can try on your tramping shoes. It's just incredible. But what they did, and I think it was about 8 years ago, we all know about Black Friday, the sales. So what they did is they said, we're not going to participate in Black Friday. We're closing everything, and it's going to let us all, get outside, because that was their philosophy. And everything was closed. As it's continue on, you as a customer, because we still have to be customer centric, can still buy online, but nothing will be looked at until this period is over. So it just sits there and waits because we're just outside. So that's one way, and thinking about that purposefulness is from an internal customer experience. But I'm going to talk, this is just probably more interesting, will have no relevance to you in your life, or your role, but just might spark a thought of interest, is that if you're positioned somewhere, how can you start that journey? Because you don't have to be perfect to start with. And if we think about one industry is fast fashion, and this is H&M in Amsterdam. Fast fashion, buy something you're going to throw away potentially in a year for $8. And what they have done is they've said, how do we pivot out of this potentially? And one area is they've develop this rental area. This is only in Amsterdam at the moment, where they go, well, this is more about handcrafted, raising the level where it's not expected, but these price pieces will last a lifetime. But we can engage with a customer who is looking for a lower price, so we're sort of still ticking the boxes. So you can rent this product, you come and get it and you bring it back and they look after everything for you. You don't have to launder it or anything else. So again, just a different way of how can we start? Well, we sort out the back end, which is often a supply chain transparency issue. The other thing they've got up to the top is this little lady. She's awesome. I reckon she's about 26 or so, 29. There's another one. And they come in and they will repair anything. You didn't have to buy it from H&M. From anywhere, and they will find a way to give it a new lease of life. So again, finding a way to continue to be relevant as you sort out your backyard. So I thought that was quite innovative. Nothing to do with digital, nothing to do with anything else other than helping you think about how can we start as we mean to go on and our customer expectations. This here is, IKEA has made a statement by 2030 they will be fully circular. And so what happens in Australia, because we don't have our IKEA yet, is that if you have a piece of IKEA that you don't need anymore, you can take it back to IKEA and they will give you a voucher to put towards a new product, and they will sell it. They'll either sell it, donate it, or recycle it. So from a continuous loop. And so there's a circular hub where you can go into. And about, I reckon 2 or 3 weeks ago, they took this online. And so that means that you can go and browse online. Can't remember what it's called. It's in my notes. It's called something. And you go on and you reserve it, and then you can go and see it in store before it gets delivered to you. So again, we're going to have to start thinking of ways how we hack around some things. But this is a really elegant way of then saying, well, we're going to be circular, but our relationship and our responsibility is to you and our brand. And this is how we're going to do that in a very purposeful way. So that's a whole lot of stuff. I don't even know how to sum this up for you guys, but there is there's geniuses everywhere. But in the environments that you're going to require a lot of courage to maybe break or shake things. But if there's anything that I would encourage you to take away from this, is one is remember that yesterday's excellence is tomorrow's expectation. And maybe number two, in the environments that you are in, is what are we expecting of data and what are we going to use it for as well. Maybe number three is also acquisitions ridiculously expensive. So try and make sure that we meet or exceed customers' expectations, and then you don't have to worry too much about acquisition. And the other thing is that, and it probably pisses us all off. Do you ever shout at the TV and you go, what a fucking stupid ad? Do it all the time, don't you? Who made that? What the shit? I sit there all the time. I don't swear a lot. I've been in Australia. Swearing's a joining word. And whenever I come back to New Zealand, I've got a potty mouth. But it's engaging with emotion. If you when you go, oh my God, we've opened a new store, or oh, we've got this new feature. If it's got no meaning to the customer, it's just noise. How do you engage with emotion? So what is that point of friction that you've solved for the customer? Like the BK guys, it may not. You've found an insight to do with your audience. And what have you done? Deliver that with emotion. there's enough rational and functional in the world, and we're emotive beings. So, while I still wonder why the hell I'm here talking to you guys, I hope you got something out of it. If our business, we talk a lot about customer experience and what's happening in the world. It's got a bit of a retail bend, to be honest, about 70%. But if you want to sign up at RX Group, there'll be a little sign up. We send out something once a month. And if you liked what I did, tell 2 people and tell them, well, if you want to speak to someone about customer experience or about innovating within your business, I'm the person you need to talk to. And you'll talk to me, but I've got really smart people that work for me that actually do it. So do you have any questions? I've got 2 minutes and 21 seconds, or you can go to the loo. Brilliant, we'll go to the loo. Excellent, thank you so much.